There's something terrifying about feeling like you're not doing enough. So, you start off your day with a set list in mind. You take vitamins, you shower, you journal, you go to the gym, all before 7. Yet somehow you always feel like you are never doing enough. So you work more through your routine. You move faster. You start rushing through your mechanical routine. You go faster. You get ready faster. All so that you can lock in. And I feel like in today's society, that's sometimes what this idea of locking in has caused us to just feel. Like, we feel like we're never doing enough, and we're constantly moving on to the next thing that we have to do because we're looking at what other people are doing. And we're like, oh, what am I doing? And at what point did locking in turn in from a temporary state where we're focusing and doing work into something that we need to constantly maintain throughout all aspects of our lives? The term locking in originated in military terms when it came to a certain location that they had to lock down. And then eventually that led down into gaming. So where people started to use the term more so to describe when they were playing the game and they needed to grind or do work, they would say, guys, lock in. And somehow from gaming, we took that term and we led that to go into short form content, YouTube, and all different social media platforms. And now that led to different niches like productivity, fitness, and all those different niches where people have to lock in for a set period of time to use this word, guys, lock in, to inspire their audiences to do work, to set in the work for a certain period of time that they're not doing enough. And in turn, that has led to a sense where people are doing more work, but also where people are overworking themselves. And this positive thing has also had some negative effects as well, because in life, anything that you do in excess can have negative effects. On that note, so let's talk about social media. Like, social media has caused us to feel these different trends that are going on. Like, initially, it just started off with them saying these ideas or motivational accounts where we felt the need to do different work. And that has helped me so much because every time I see that, I just get a little rise. I'm like, oh, I need to be doing work. Like, shit, let me get on my grind too. Or let me start working on. It reminds me of the work that I got to do, and it makes me more motivated. But also at the same time, there has been like different trends that go on where you see this one idea. Like, initially it started with everybody waking up at 8 a.m. or trying to wake up at 6 a.m. And now we're moving on to where it's like, waking up at 5 a.m. routine, where people are showing off their routines and describing whether they felt more productive. And yeah, it's just social media, and we should understand that social media isn't reality, but also some people are taking that with a grain of salt. They're considering, oh wait, maybe this is just how other people are living their lives. Maybe I need to be living my life like that too. Especially among younger audiences, they could just feel pressure that they're not doing enough when that's not the case. And as we know with social media, once you like one thing and you interact with it, you start to see more content like that. So once you're constantly liking media that's with the phrase lock in or productivity and all of that different stuff, then you're constantly going to be seeing stuff telling you that you need to lock in, and then you're constantly going to feel like you need to be working, even when you're just relaxing, or even when you just came off of studying 6 hours. Now you're like, oh snap, like, what am I doing? Why aren't I working? Which can have some negative effects, because sometimes you just need to take a break and you don't need to log in all the time. And also, let's just discuss this new wave where it's of tough love on social media, where practically we're talking to us and we're just saying, oh, you need to be working, you're not working hard enough, that's why you're not achieving the goals that you want. And while that is very positive, and I also had this whole phase where I was like, oh, I need this, like, let me watch my little podcast and she's gonna yell at me and she gonna get me right. But also, sometimes that's not the solution. Sometimes you don't need to be doing work. I know some of y'all are super locked in and have achieved so much, and somehow you still feel like you need to lock in even more. And that can just lead to effects where people feel burnt out or overworked, and even could develop anxiety because they're constantly comparing themselves to other people that they see online. or you're even comparing yourself to this version of you that you had in the past that maybe was more productive, and saying, why can't I be like her? Why aren't I locked in enough to be able to achieve this goal as much as I wanted? Or this future version of yourself that you hope to achieve, and you're looking at that girl that you want to be, and you're like, man, what am I doing wrong? Why is it just not clicking? Like, I need to work harder. But sometimes hard work isn't always the route to success, and it's more so consistency and those small actions that you're taking that don't overwork you to meet the goal that you want to achieve. But we get so caught up in the glamorous aspects of things that we see online, or I get caught up on that, and now I'm like, oh, snap, maybe I need to lock in. And so that begs the question of, maybe this could be caused by us subconsciously not feeling able or not wanting to be vulnerable or just live in uncertainty. And this idea of locking in could just be because we want, or some of us, not only us, some of us want to feel more in control of aspects of our lives. Because let's be real, we be joking around with our friends and we see and we're just like, girl, lock in, or like stuff like that. Even when it comes down to eating a meal on the table, we're just like, girl, lock in. Because we need to finish the meal, or snap, I need to lock in, we have an exam. Or even when it comes down to dating, we've seen it before where you see somebody who's like your type to a T, and you're just like, I need to lock in and get this person to like me even where I can't mess this up. But certain things, like whether or not that person will like you, whether or not you get to a new school and people at the school will like you, or people that you're inspired by will like you, are not up to you. They're not up to your control. And yes, you can do some things to be more likable, but it's ultimately up to the other person. And by having this idea of locking in, you kind of take all the responsibility onto yourself. So now you're questioning to yourself. You're like, okay, so this person hates my friggin' guts. What did I do wrong? Especially for people that are like people pleasers or are hard on themselves. They're like, okay, so what did I do wrong? Or people hate you, or people disrespect you, and you're like, okay, so what did I do wrong? But it's really not you. This time, you need to lock out. You need to lock out, Bill. Like, this thing that you're doing, you can't lock in for this, because this is up to other people, and you need to just believe in yourself and reflect within yourself, what have you done? We need to also just take some time for ourselves. Like, we just need to sit with ourselves and slow down. Just think about the things that you've accomplished, how hard you worked, things that maybe weren't working and things that were working, instead of just rushing on to the next thing. Because sometimes when we're in a tough spot in our lives, when you're constantly in this state of fight or flight, where you constantly are working, you're constantly working, you're constantly waking up early, or like you're constantly going to your classes, or you have a job, and this, that, and the third. When you're finally free and you have time for yourselves, or you're sitting with yourselves, or something didn't work out, you're sitting here now and you're just like, oh my gosh, I am just a horrible mess. Or sometimes even I just sit with myself and I'm like, bro, what am I doing in my life? Like, my life is a mess. I'm gonna be poor when I'm old. Like, everything that I did just messed up. When it's really not that deep. It's like not that deep. And this is just a stage of growth. This is just you waiting here and sitting there, figuring yourselves out, experiencing change so that you can grow even more. So sometimes you don't need to lock in, because sometimes we confuse locking in for constant work instead of locking in on certain things that are important. We need to take some time. Like, sometimes when you're eating that meal, girl, you don't need to lock in. Sometimes you just don't finish it. Or when you meet somebody new, instead of asking yourself or thinking to yourself, oh my god, this person is so perfect, I need to lock in. Think, okay, do I like this person? How do they make me feel? Or this new job, do I like this job? How does this job make me feel? Okay, the work I'm doing. Okay, I like this work. Do I want to keep doing this work? Instead of thinking, I need to finish this at this time. I need to do this. I need to do that. I need to do that. Oh my god, that person online is doing this, and I didn't do this in my job. Like, something must be wrong with me. It's not a reflection of you. Like, the amount of work you do is not a reflection of you. And that was something I wish I could just tell myself sometimes too, because while locking in really did help me, and it made me the person I am today, and it made me get stuff done, it also affected me negatively in ways because I was like, I would have periods where I'm just burnt out. Or even when it comes down to hobbies, I would adopt hobbies, think that I need to be perfect at it, and I only lock in a few months I would be this, that, and third. And I'm doing the hobby now, and then I'm sitting here with the hobby, and I'm like, oh, I hate this hobby now. When if I had just taken gradual little steps instead of thinking I needed to be perfect and locking it, then I would have still liked the hobby. So we just need to sit down and slow down with ourselves. Not only that, when somebody fails, we sometimes think, okay, what did this person do? Did they lock in enough? Did they do enough work? Did they fail because they're just a failure in life, or was it because of factors outside of their control? And so now we're trying to audit and calculate whether that person did enough so we can feel bad for them, or whether we can decide they're lazy. Or even with yourself, you're sitting here and you're like, okay, did I do enough? Or even other people might tell you when you're telling them, oh, okay, like I'm experiencing a tough time, like I don't know what I'm doing. They might be like, okay, but like what are you doing now? Okay, so you're not working. Okay, so then you must be lazy, or you must not be focused enough about your job. Like you're just too unserious. When it's really not like that at all. I feel like that can especially appear for people with parents who are immigrants too as well, because then their parents are like, okay, we came to America, now you have pressure to succeed as well. But this is not only just for people like that, but just all people who feel like high achievers in general, and even people in everyday lives. They feel this idea that they have to lock in. And lock in, but also lock out. You don't need to lock in 24/7. Lock in 60% of the time, maybe lock out 40. Get yourself sleep. Just go to bed. Okay? Just don't lock in. And like I said, we just compare ourselves. Like the constant trend in all of this is that this idea of locking in has caused us to compare ourselves, because I feel like for some of us, or subconsciously for some people, we sit and we're thinking and we're like, okay, so what is this person doing, or is this person similar to me? So we categorize people subconsciously, and we're like, okay, whether that's their age, their school they're at, the job they're working, is this person similar to me? And then because maybe that person is your age, or this person goes to your school, now you're like, okay, if this person is just like me in the sense that they go to my school, that means I need to be doing stuff too. Like I'm not locking in enough. This person must be doing more work than me, which isn't always necessarily true. And sometimes behind closed doors, like I don't see what that other person is doing. I don't see the work that they put in. I don't see whether the outcome that they are showing us is not reflective of some other factors that they're also facing as well. And that person could be thinking the same thing about the next person, like, oh snap, like I need to lock in even more because this person. And when you're constantly comparing yourselves to other people and the work that they're doing, first, you're gonna get the first person that you're locking in. Let's call her Jade. You're comparing yourself to Jade or Jude, I don't know. And you're just like, oh my god, Jade is so cool. Like, well, I need to work harder, so you work harder. And then you're finally kind of satisfied with yourself. And then you see the next person, you see Mary, and you're like, oh gosh, Mary's so cool. She's succeeded in this, that. I need to work harder. And then it's never ending, because there's always going to be another person that you see and you're like, oh, they did such cool work, maybe I need to be doing that work too. But other people's work isn't always reflective of yourself. You can use these people as inspirations, but you don't always need to compare yourselves. Your worth is not dependent on whether you locked in enough. It's dependent on whether you feel like you've learned something, whether you can understand and reflect on yourselves and think back on the effort that you put in. You just need to slow down with yourself and just not compare yourselves to others, which is a stretch. It's like, don't compare yourselves to others. That sounds simple because it's not something that you're consciously doing. Like, bro, I compare myself to people too, and I'm just like, I need to be doing something too, and it's positive sometimes. Has it caused me to do work? Sometimes I already know what I need to get done, and I'm just sitting here and I'm just in a little pit of self-pity, being like, ah, snap, like I just, But other times I'm just in an uncertain phase in my life and figuring things out, and I need to sit with myself and just understand what I'm trying to do, and whether I like it, and who I am and what I want before jumping to the next best thing. But despite me saying all of this about locking in is not a bad thing at all. Like, while I made this whole video explaining all these different counter effects, locking in is genuinely has many positive effects. And I know some people who are grateful that the trend has started. Like, heck, I'm grateful too. I'm like, now I feel like a more productive person. But also, like I said, anything in excess can also have negative effects as well. And we're trying to toe the line between what is a healthy amount of motivation and discipline and what is just overworking ourselves. Like, locking in has allowed people to get their work done, or maybe locking in has allowed people to make a schedule. And locking in can come in so many different forms. Like, it can come in whether you overwork yourselves, which is kind of like the negative, or it can come in you doing little small things every day, like doing something small every day that helps you reach your goal. That can be considered locking in as well. Or making a schedule that's healthy and you want to just stick to that schedule. That's locking in as well. And we get so caught up in the big goals or trying to finish things so quickly. So because we see these things online that are just like people succeeding, and we don't see those months, we don't see those days and everything. We think it's supposed to be just like, it's supposed to be quick, but it's not quick, and it takes hours and days, and we need to just slow down with ourselves. And sometimes we don't even need to lock in. Sometimes you just need to relax after you've had a long day of doing work, instead of feeling like, I need to lock in. Instead of locking in, just lock out, guys. So I just think the next time we're just like, lock in, maybe we just need to think about whether you actually need to lock in, or whether you're just overworking yourself at that point. Like, whether you can actually afford to take on something else, or whether you're just doing that because you feel anxious and you're comparing yourselves to other people, because sometimes you're already doing a lot, while other times you're not really doing anything, and maybe you do need to lock in. So just slow down with yourselves and consider, like, what am I doing, and what can I be doing, and what have I achieved. I remember for me, I was going through a time where I just felt so lost, and I felt like I wasn't really doing much, because I had just come from working super hard to just doing nothing, and I just felt like I was a failure, or I wasn't doing enough. But that was just my planning stage. It wasn't me being lazy, it was just me figuring out what I actually wanted with myself. And I just needed that time to myself, instead of jumping on to the next thing that I didn't even know if I really liked or wanted to do. I just need that time to kind of figure out what I was doing with myself. And sometimes we need to normalize just relaxing, taking some time for yourself, and understanding what you actually want to do, instead of being so quick to jump to the next thing. Because in general, my summary is just that we get so caught up in this idea of productivity that we just lose our sense and idea of what is healthy for us, and what is just fine and normal for us to just relax, instead of feeling in this, like you're in this flight or flight situation all the time, because that can have more negative effects than positive effects. And a normal, healthy amount of locking in can have positive effects in the long run for you, instead of feeling so pressured by what society or like what other people are doing to do other work as well.